All right. Good afternoon. Welcome into the program. Thank you guys for checking us out as always. My name is Rob Sanders. I am currently in Columbia. I will be heading to Charlotte tomorrow afternoon for some ACC kickoff stuff. Thought today we'd go over. I was going to open and let you guys chat over here, obviously, and if you would like to join the program, have at it. A couple things that I've noticed around the whole internet world today that have been kind of interesting. We'll get into that today. Um, in addition to, I've got a couple of things that I'm putting out there that might anger some folks. One of them being the fact that when I submit my ballot for ACC kickoff, um, I am not putting Florida State in the ACC championship game. And some people think that I'm being silly with that. I really don't. I'm going with Clemson and SMU. And now you can make the argument, how could you put Clemson in there? They have issues on offense and all of that. I think the Clemson defense is going to be great, and I think that there's a shot. I don't think they're going to win the Georgia game. Like that's going to happen. But I do think that there's an opportunity for this Clemson team to to shine enough throughout the season to get to Charlotte, to go to the ACC championship game, and to play SMU. SMU coming off an 11-win season last year. Here's the shitty part: no one else in the conference makes me think, you know what, this team's going to come in and pull a Mizzou. you know, uh, to stop a team from coming in and doing what basically Mizzou did in year two going to the SEC. And it's sad. And here's the other crazy part. Yes, Clemson and Florida State are at the front as far as complaining about TV money and all of that. Yeah, we need more TV money. We need more of this, more of that. The reality is that the other teams in the conference, the Boston Colleges, the Syracuse of the world, they're going to be looking right there and they're going to go out and put their hand out and they're going to ask for more. Why not? And I think that when it comes down to it, the but none of those teams are going to be competitive at all. Not at all. So when I step back and look at it, the more and more it's like, what was it? The two teams from the other two teams that are coming into the league, Cal and Stanford, have not had winning seasons in the 2020s. So we're going into what, the fifth season of this decade, and they don't have a winning season. Not not a season where they went eight. No bowl games, no nothing. And then we go from there. But the ACC has kind of put themselves in a hole with what they've done here. Jay disagrees with me. He thinks that Louisville's going to light the ACC up. Okay. We got the same thing with that every year. Remember when they had Lamar Jackson? Yeah. They lit the ACC up, but they didn't win the conference. It's the same thing. And by the way, looking at Louisville's schedule, I looked at Louisville's schedule the other day. And with that, what's up, Bo Hunting? Welcome back to the program, sir. So I'm looking at Louisville's schedule right now, and it's nothing. I don't think it's that complicated, to be honest with you. But Biscuit says he just had deja vu. I don't know what he's having deja vu about, but here we go. Louisville schedule includes Austin Peay, the Governors, first game of the season, followed by Jacksonville State. And then they have that Jacksonville State game might be interesting too. Georgia Tech at home, so 3 straight home games. Their first road game is on the road at Notre Dame, 3:30 kick on September the 28th, followed by a home game with SMU, road trip to Virginia, home game with Miami, then 3 straight games on the road with Boston College, Clemson, and then they get a week off before they head out to play Stanford on the 16th. They wrap up the season with Pitt and at Kentucky. They might light up the ACC a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Because of I don't think Georgia Tech's going to be great on defense. Virginia is a gong show. Boston College is still looking for an identity. Stanford hasn't had a winning season since in the 2020s. Yeah, they may light up in some of those games. I don't know how well they're going to do against Notre Dame. They've never beaten Clemson in conference play. I don't think they've beaten Clemson ever. Like ever in football. I have to Google that and make sure that's right. But either way, I like looking at the side of the ESPN schedule where it tells you can you can look at the schedule and see how much a ticket costs. So for the Austin Peay game at home for Louisville, $11 and $12 a ticket, $11 for the Georgia Tech game. And then we go from there. The old Rockabilly 864 says that Walt says UVA is getting better. Well, I mean, really? When you step, I mean, you want to buy on that? You want to know what Walt does a lot of that is kind of annoying from what I've gathered? I haven't listened to a ton of his show, but he wants to be like this apologist for teams that are horse shit. Like he couldn't tell, he probably couldn't tell you who the Virginia starting quarterback is. You know what I'm saying? And it's like when I step back and you have a lot of these folks that put this stuff out there, and they're like, "Oh, that team's going to be a little bit better." Walt is a water holder for Clemson when it comes to a lot of stuff. He's going to do anything to prop up Clemson opponents because Virginia's on the Clemson schedule this year, I believe. And in his mind, if he can make them appear to be better, I don't know. It's just stupid when it comes to that. And a lot of people that do the whole talking head thing, and I guess I'm part of that crowd too. But the reality is a lot of them, they'll say things that end up being just jackass stupid. Oh, Virginia's going to be better. Really? Define better. I don't know. I'm not buying into all that at all. All right, if you'd like to join the program, have at it. Walt watches the Rockabilly hot dog reviews. Well, you know what? He should. Rockabilly's still looking for the perfect hot dog. Be sure to subscribe to him on the TikTok and on YouTube as well. All right, so by that logic, you're going to beat Kentucky this year. Guess not. Okay. I don't know what Peg and Megan's talking about there, but it's just interesting to say the least. Yeah, Biscuit put it into words better than I described. It's a low rent comment because what does better mean? UVA winning 4 games is probably better. Yeah, very good. They're not. Nobody's expecting shit from them. And if they do go 5-7, oh, they did better. And he'll come back and he'll revisit that later on and say, you know what? They did finish better. I don't know. All right. So if you want to call up and talk about that and how people put out stuff and it's like, there are some people, and I will use my podcast co-host, Mr. Carolina Jackpot. You watch his stuff. He knows his football. He puts out like his stuff is, he goes over the top on all these teams. I mean, it's just the way that he does things. And it's kind of, it's refreshing on some fronts because you know that he has put together the work and he's trying to inform folks. But check out some of his previews because it's really good stuff there. If you are someone who likes the preview video, some people don't like them. Some people are like, "Hey, can you?" They don't like watching the previews. They just want to maybe read something. So there's that. Greg says this guy is a goofball. What am I a goofball about, sir? I don't know what you're talking about. Schultz says Lou hung up on Octavian last night. I did. I hung up on him the other day because he just too much on that front. I do have one other thing to put out there. I think it was 247 Sports put out their top list of transfer players for the upcoming season. 2 of them are coming from Clemson. Mukumba at Texas is probably going to be an all-conference player. And, oh God, I can't remember who the other one was, but that's the one that bites because he was really, really good for Clemson and ended up leaving. Now, a lot of that comes down to, I mean, players are going to come and go, but when you have someone that has the mentality that Dabo Sweeney has, okay, and it's, I'm not going to the transfer portal, then but, they do have NIL up there. Former guest of the program, still friend of the program, Levon Kirkland is like one of the NIL guys up there. But it comes down to this. That's a failure on the coaching staff. When you lose these guys, and it hurts even more because you're not going to go back into the portal and get someone else. Your mentality is, I'm going to bring these high schoolers in and hope that works. I don't have to be the guy to tell you that's not going to work. You can't expect these guys to come in and be seasoned up and ready to go. Would you rather have a guy that's going to jump across and automatically start for Texas, by the way? He's going to be a starter in that Texas secondary from day one. Would you rather have one of those guys or a guy that's getting ready to, a guy that had his prom not too long ago? That's something that Sweeney has to be held accountable for. And if and fans need to do that. That's something that you can look at and be like, look, you convinced that guy to come here. You coached that guy up to a point where he was an all-conference player here, and then he leaves. That is your fault, sir. The fault of your coaching staff. You got to figure that shit out because right now, that loss is going to sting Clemson more than anything because you're not bringing in anybody to replace them. All right, I'll put the link out there one more time if you guys would like to join the show. Let's see here. Oh, thank you, Fireball. Let's see here. We'll put this link out here for the show, and we're going to welcome in Megan. What's up, buddy?
Rob, do you think all of the criticism towards Dabo and this whole transfer thing, you think it's all valid, or you think people are a little too rough on him?
I think, well, he's had the biggest mouth. And when you have the biggest mouth, people come back at you with the biggest bat. As I said before, if you're going to have that stance with the transfer portal, first of all, you better win. And second of all, you got to make sure that you keep the guys that you got, because if you're losing them at the rate, Clemson lost 2 guys that are in the top 50, according to 247 Sports. That's going to sting, man. It really is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with having the biggest mouth, but I think that's more of a Clemson thing than a Dabo thing. I just don't. He gets a lot of criticism for being backwards or behind the time, and I'm like, in a lot of ways, Dabo is just outright progressive. And I know people laugh when I say that, but I mean, the guy started the first female quarterback in Division I football. I mean, that was groundbreaking on its own. You've got
Yeah.
Samantha.
Hold on, slow down for a second. And that quote, female quarterback went in and beat Alabama by 28 points. When's the last time Georgia did that?
Well, and that's proof that he didn't. I mean, we all knew he didn't base it on her looks. That was one of the ugliest women I've ever seen in my life. It was based on skill. Obviously, she was a good quarterback. How is Samantha Brown doing? I haven't heard anything out of her all off season. Is she still on track to start, or?
I don't know if Brown is going to start, but in the end, going to be a great player. And I know Georgia fans are upset because he decided I don't want to go to Georgia. I want to go somewhere else. It's a
Bro,
miss by your coaching staff because they should have convinced him to come there.
bro,
So
I don't know a single Georgia fan who was upset when she chose Clemson. Do
get
you?
the hell
I mean,
out of here.
really?
Your mind.
Really?
The people inside that building were upset. Top 10 player in the country decides, hey, I'm not going to go to my in-state school. Yeah, they're pretty pissed off about that there. I'd venture to say that.
I was just checking to see if you still had that text. I figured you would throw it up on the screen as
I, well,
proof.
I wasn't trying to. It's early in the season, sir. I was not going to bring you out that early, but I mean, I could send you the text that you had there, but I didn't want to. I was trying to be. I don't want us spitting venom at each other until maybe a week before game one, where I'll call you a cross-dressing geriatric, and we'll go from there.
No, I do. I kind of respect you for going out on a limb there with SMU, and I can't say that I would put all my money on that, but I also don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
I don't feel good about anybody else in that conference after those top three. Okay. And I really don't feel good about Florida State because I think they have a culture of losing.
I think
So I think that's where
Florida
they are now.
Florida State's a mystery to me because they lost so much, but they have recruited well. So I'm I wouldn't, if I was a betting man, I would stay away from Florida State right now. I just don't know what to make of them.
Well, here's the thing that I do know. Uiagalelei was projected to be the next second coming. It was supposed to be like the torch passing from Boyd to Watson and Watson to Lawrence and Lawrence giving the torch to him is the way it was supposed to end up. And he's an average quarterback. Now, Georgia can make him look I'm sorry. Florida State's going to try to make him look a lot better than he is, but the guy's just not accurate. You can look at his numbers at Clemson, at Oregon State, same thing. Same thing, man. I just I don't I think that they don't have Jordan Travis back there at quarterback, and that's going to end up biting them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I
What is the line right now for Georgia Clemson?
think it's 13 and a half.
Does that feel right to you or no?
Yep,
Yeah, I think that's about
it
right.
really does. My my thing with Georgia is that I think Clemson, and I said this before, I think that's the Clemson defense will be the best defense they play all season. The concern that I have is that Georgia is going to get to a point where they are going to, I guess, just basically be Georgia. We're going to lean on you and keep leaning until you eventually break about 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I think this game is going to be like the Mizzou game, like when Mizzou came to Athens last year.
Yeah.
I think that's the way that it's going to be, and Georgia will probably pull away late, and I think they'll cover. If you asked me to completely bet today, that's where I would go. Now, with that though, could Clemson keep it close? Yeah, they could. They could. And here's the other thing too: if Clemson pulls off the upset and Georgia rolls through their schedule, they may meet each other again in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's
They
possible.
may, but I just don't see that. But if I were a Georgia fan and I was looking at the schedule, um, I would think Clemson's maybe the second or third toughest game on the schedule
Yeah.
behind Alabama. So
Yeah.
there's that. And I mean, if people want to get upset with me about that, have at it, have at it. But Georgia's not just going to walk in and just roll over them. All right. The thought of some people, Georgia's going to win 42-3. Shut up. What the fuck you're talking about? You've watched zero football in your existence if you believe that.
Yeah.
I don't see it being a complete blowout like that. It could be like the matchup was in Charlotte. Was it 10-3 or whatever it was? We were
Yeah.
expecting it could be a game like that. It really, really could. So
Well, we didn't know at the time, but JT Daniels' arm was basically tied to his hips. He couldn't throw a forward pass in that game.
But man, Georgia fans loved him though. What were they calling him? JT by Christ, Dan, whatever the hell it was they were calling him. Now
Yeah.
that he's in, they've got it. Ah.
Yeah.
Harry says Texas, Bama, UT, Ole Miss, all are better. They're better than Clemson. Well, sir, I'm sorry, Harry. I completely disagree with you on that. I said 2 or 3, sir. If you want
Rob,
to put Texas ahead of them, that's fine. But I'm not buying the rest of them. So
I'm gonna get off here and let one of these illiterate Florida fans scream at you for not calling them the national champions of 24. So of
they're going 17-0 according to the bookcase of accountability. I don't know how
course,
they're the best they could do is schedule 16 games, but they're going 17. I guess they're counting the spring game.
of course they are. I'll talk to you later, Rob.
Thank you, sir. Fireval says the only thing is your quarterback can't compete with UGA. Yep. And by the way, that's the hinge on the Clemson season, by the way. Can Cade Klubnik, first of all, is he going to run the plays that are told to him like he was supposed to do at Miami that cost Clemson a game? Yeah. Are you going to do that? That's thing number one. And are you going to tone down a little bit? Stop sprinting out to the right and throwing the same damn pass all the time. You know, Riley has got to figure this out. Garrett Riley has got to coach this guy up and get him to a point where he's not going out there and his eyes are wide open. He's also got to have Maffa picking up blitzes because 2 plays last season screwed Clemson. The pick 6 against Florida State, where Maffa just completely blew a block and ended up with the pick 6, which ended up costing Clemson the game. And the other is the Miami game, where he was told to hand the ball off, and he didn't. You run the play that is called for you, buddy. Jake says, "What do you think of the guy formerly known as not Bobby Durkins?" I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't catch a lot of other YouTube shows, so I don't know much about him. That's not being rude. I think I've seen a little bit of it, but to be honest, I don't catch a lot of other stuff, man. I'm sorry. I wish I could give you a better answer than that. I'm not being disrespectful to him. I can tell you that a lot of times when I watch other YouTube shows, it's because I don't know. Let me back that up for a second. I end up watching some of them, and they just piss me off. The folks at Talking Squalls can like literally walk off a plank. The way they treated my podcast co-host, they could literally walk off a plank and take their W-2s and 1099s and all that bullshit for them. Yeah, and I appreciate that, Jake. He may be the coolest dude ever, but for me to give you a great opinion of him is like, I do. If you are a Georgia fan and you want to learn a little bit more about Clemson, but from a source that's not going to just, hey, we're going to give you the tiger paw till the end of time, blah, blah, blah. Go and check out ClemsonSportsTalk.com. My buddy Lawton Swan does the radio show there. And it is one of the most honest Clemson shows ever. Lawton is a guy that is a Clemson grad, and he absolutely knows his stuff. You can go and check out the show for free over there, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. He's on every day, 4 to 6, and just does a great, great show. And it's something that exactly Biscuit gets it. Stop looking at me, Swan. If you want to learn a little bit, and he's got sources up there, Clemson and all of that, check out Lawton Swan. Swanee and I'll be working together tomorrow at up in Charlotte for the day. And anyway, enough plugging my buddy there. But if you want to know the football, go check out Lawton Swan. Shout out to Beth. Rockabilly 864 says Clemson's better than Tennessee. Yep. Completely agree with you on that. All right, I'm going to put the link out there one more time if you'd like to join the program. By the way, speaking of Rockabilly 864, his alter ego, Mr. Carolina Jackpot, will be joining me this evening. We will be doing our podcast, the midweek show. I on that midweek show. Let's see if I can pull this up really quickly here without screwing everything up. I don't know if I've ever showed you guys this before, but I'm gonna show it to you now. Actually, no, it's over here. Show you what have I showed you guys what the ballot? Yeah, good. Thanks, Peg and Megan. Isolate that clip. Burp, 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 burp. Let's see here. Where did I put it? Hold on a second. Let me see here. I don't know if I can show it to you from here or not. I was going to show you how the ballot looks for that they send us for ACC kickoff. I think I can do it this way. Let me try it here. Stand by for just a second. All right, here we go. Let me look for this really quick here. It's really weird. So a lot of times on these ballots, right, they give you each school submits players that they want to be approved for having on the ballot as far as for the ACC Player of the Year in your ballot and all that. I'm gonna show you guys the ballot because it's kind of interesting for those on the outside who don't really see that stuff. Let's see here. Come on, show up here. It's kind of cool anyway. Give you guys kind of a behind the scenes look at that. I'm gonna have some footage and stuff I'll post tomorrow, just from the ins and outs of going on up there. He'll let you guys see that. Did I forward that to myself? All right, and then obviously we're taking calls here. I should have set this up earlier, but it didn't. For some reason, it did not. There you go. Let's try that. There we go. All right. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. So I'll show you how this looks really quick here. It's interesting how they do this because and share. So everybody gets their ballot, right? And it looks sort of like this. So you have your preseason awards ballot, click there to begin, and you pick your quarterback. So let's say I wanted to go with Grayson McCall at NC State. That might be interesting. You pick out each school gives you the quarterback that they want to put up there, which is kind of interesting in its own right. So let's say I wanted to go with Grayson McCall, the former whatever. You submit that, you rank him, you go to the next one. Your two running backs. And this is how, and everybody, like for this, you'll pick two, and then they'll have two running backs or whatever, and it goes by a point scale. So let's say I wanted to go with Hampton from North Carolina and Moffa from Clemson. You submit that, and then you go through on each position. Now, where it gets interesting is that, everyone knows your wideouts and your quarterbacks and everything else. But where it gets interesting is like, who in here knows who the damn kicker is for said school? So a lot of times the special teams players, are just, if you do know your school, right? Like I couldn't tell you who the NC State kicker is. I have no clue. But, the tight ends, it's kind of the same way with that. Some people know their tight ends, some don't. So a lot of times a lot of people will put this stuff together and they really don't know much. I mean, if they're just completely honest about it, especially when it comes to that side of the ball. Also with the offensive lineman, do you know the offensive lineman for everybody? I know Williams at Georgia Tech is good. You get two tackles. All right, two guards. A lot of it comes down to who's going to send the most people. How many people are going to come there that cover X team? So like tomorrow, I think it's Florida State, NC State, and Syracuse tomorrow. Those are the three schools that are there. I think tomorrow. Let me look at the thing here. But either way, you end up picking your stuff here, and we may do the whole thing tonight on the show. But you go through all of these, and then you pick all this stuff, and then your ballot comes through. But then when you have to, at the end, they make you submit. Oh man, It's just silly. I mean, it's a lot of work doing one of these things, but Billy, thanks for joining the show. Anyway, it's kind of what the inside of it looks there. Give you that, and then you rank your teams here. I'm trying to get through to where you actually do the rankings, like your place kicker. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? So, if you notice, here's the other interesting thing. I don't think Clemson submitted a place kicker because Gunn, who's going to be the kicker, was the guy that couldn't hit a 25-yarder at Duke last year. So Clemson didn't even submit a place kicker to be in the mix there. They did submit Swanson, who's going to be the punter there. And then your specialist. Clemson sent their long snappers as their specialist. Everybody else sent their running back or or whoever's going to return balls. Clemson submitted their specialists as their long snappers as their specialists. So now you pick your player of the year. For player of the year, Clemson sent Barrett Carter, and that's it. Now, Barrett Carter's not going to win the player of the year because he's going to be a first round selection in the NFL draft, but you got to understand a lot of the writers and all that, everything's about what quarterback looks good, what running back looks good. That's why a lot of that's, it frustrates me with a lot of these awards that it's like that. Scroll up and down here. There are you got one linebacker, one defensive lineman, running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers, a tight end from Syracuse, Oronde Gadsden III. Yeah, you have all of those, but no one's going to think about putting a defensive player in there. Anyway, so your order of finish here. So the way that it works is, I guess you pick first at 1, and then you go down from there. So line them up, I guess, and then you can submit your ballot from that front. But I thought I'd show you guys that and let you take a peek at it. Beamer was a long snapper. I believe so. Dabo Sweeney's son was a long snapper too. Beamer was the cup protector. Very funny. Anyway, I want to give you some behind the scenes stuff on that. Tomorrow we'll do a little walk around kickoff up there. They've got all kinds of different little things up there. But we'll take a peek around there. You guys can check that out tomorrow. All right. Anybody else want to join the show today? I know I pissed off some Florida fans in the past couple days. Peg and Megan said I was trolling on everybody. I don't think that I was doing that, but maybe that's just the way that I present things when I write them, right? Maybe I shouldn't have wrote ETN if he could stay sober and off the roads is a good thing. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Probably right about that. But I stand behind what I said about the other schools, though. I wonder, too, with Florida State, if they're going to get off of that throttling that Georgia gave them. When you go out there and have something like that happen to you, do you get over that? Oh, somebody asked for my haircut. I got my haircut. My haircut. There you go. Nice and short. Trimming up my beard tonight. Got all that going. Be all dolled up tomorrow to go out in front of those folks. So, anyway, yeah, I'll figure out who I'm going to pick for my ballot. We'll figure that all out tomorrow too. Let's see what else do we have for the. Oh yeah, remember Jackpot and I tonight. Make sure you guys tune in for that. Jackpot is still at parts unknown. He was supposed to go to New York City today. Jake from State Farm says, I really don't care what you say about my Vols. We spent 20 years in the gutter, so I have no defense. Look, that's the most honest statement from a Tennessee fan ever. Ever. As a Tennessee fan, you have a right to question what the hell they've done to you, your program. Because for 20 years, you've been kind of in the shitter. And with the funding and the fan support and everything else you have, shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't be maybe a top 5 team every year, but being where Notre Dame is, top 15 every year, That should be where the Tennessees and the Floridas of the world are. They're not. Now, I do think that the trajectory of the programs may be going in different directions where Florida's going this way and Tennessee's going that way. But I still don't believe in Heupel and the system that he runs. No championship coaches really run with the system that he's got. And I still have the mentality of if the offense is humming, I mean, it could be that was it said it could be the fastest 3 and out in college football. It could be. But if you score quickly, you're putting your defense on the field a lot. You're wearing that defense out. And look at last season, and I know it's 2 different seasons, but your entire secondary was worn out, and all of them were either asked to leave or left. That says something. The idea of having an elite defense and that offense I think it's just a pipe dream. I mean, it really is. The idea comes back down to, are you going to be like the Phoenix Suns when they had Steve Nash and all that? Yeah, we're going to score 140, but we're going to give up 130. So that's kind of what Tennessee reminds me of. And I don't know if that can win in college football over the long haul. Now, you're going to be great against the teams that are lower than you are in the conference. What I mean by that is, the Kentuckys and the Floridas and the Vanderbilts and all that. You have games where you go out there and you score 35 points and you win 35-17 or whatever. But when it comes down to it, you play teams that have especially grit in that defensive line and guys that can keep going out there, a whole rotation of them. And coaches who are smartasses like Lane Kiffin that are going to slow the game down for you. That's what's going to be hard to beat. So it's not me trying to smash you Tennessee folks, but this is where I think you are. All right, anyway, Jackpot and I'll be up to do the show this evening. We appreciate you guys, and I shall see you later on.